Good evening, this is Shibucher with a requested tutorial for my immersive engineering generators. I would not have done this, but to be fair, I have nothing to do, and people are starting to ping me a lot everywhere they can, so I'll think about doing this. They have been noticing questions and answers, and I hope this will solve everything you need. For starters, just a heads up, this is 1.710, but I will be telling you information about 1.7. No, 1.7, 1.10, sorry. I'll also tell you differences between that. Because immersive engineering is also available on 1.710 and 1.10. There are some changes you can do with this setup if you're using immersive engineering for this kind of setup. Okay, let's get started. Firstly, you notice that I have three different mods here. One of which is not necessary, which is the Buildcraft pipes, because that can be easily replaced with NRIO conduits and everything. Don't worry about that. Same for the redstone control. As long as you have some kind of channel with redstone control, you're fine. Now, before we start, this is in 1.710. And when you go set up a power monitor, you need to know you need to have a battery, a NRIO capacitor bank that gives you active NRIO conduits, at least hooking up to the power monitor. You do not need it on the output for the battery. As long as the power monitors are connected via conduits to this capacitor, they will actively read and know what to do with the rest of the system, because they are the main controllers. Now, if we go into here, what's nice with the internet controllers for this kind of setup is they allow finite control by the 1 percentile. So you can do 81, 82, 83, 84, and so on. You can do even 1, or 2, or 3. So we're going to set this back at 80. Now, the way this is set up for each controller, for when the engine turns on, and you need mid-single when storage is less than 80% full. That's the first setting you need to understand what you want to set at. And then the next step is when you want to stop running the engine at like 90% full, and make sure your control is active. For 1.710, you need an inverted redstone single, because these engines don't allow you to invert the control. In 1.10, the immersive engineering diesel generators redstone ports with an engineering hammer allows you to invert the redstone control on them, which is pretty easy to do, which means you use slightly less materials, and you don't need an inverted redstone single. Another thing to understand is each engine needs to be on its own channel. So you do up to 16 channels, or 16 engines, basically. So that's like, but I don't suggest going up full 16. I suggest like 10. But with this kind of setup, you can easily go to 20 or 50 setup, depending on how finite you get and how much power you're using. Now, to understand, this engine is constantly running because we're drawing, let's see, about 2,560 RF per tick into this empty trash can, which is pretty good. This is just to show that it's constantly running, keeps on check. That's because this machine is checking that this battery is 8% full, and then it turns on the engine once below that, and then it does this. Now, I do suggest when you set this up, make sure you have at least a 2 or 3 gap wide between each engine, and a steady supply of biodiesel, because depending on your system, it'll constantly burn. Now, I think this system is much better fuel efficient because each generator produces 4,096 RF per tick, no matter what. They're basically locked in that state, and they have the locked fuel burn rate. If there's any difference to that, don't take my word on it. This is what I know from what I've read and what I've seen. Because they don't have any change in how much fuel liquid they use or how much power they produce constantly. So I think this is better set up because you save on fuel. Because if we're just burning that much RF per second, and every few seconds this engine runs for like maybe 2-3 seconds just to refill this thing up to 9%. I think it's better because if you're running like a small AC system that only is like maybe 20 RF, what's the point of burning 10 gallon entire 5,000 buckets of biodiesel just to keep one AC system running constantly for 1 hour? You can see how that kind of burns through resources fast. This is where I think this system would come in handy, because that way it controls how much power and how much fuel is burned, so it's more fuel efficient. It also means that both of these engines are not running, which is basically to power, let's say, one E2 system. That's only like using like 100 or 200 RF when both of these are locked in at producing 496 RF, which is massive waste. At least this way you keep all the waste energy, and so you're basically more efficient. Let's see how long we've been recording, 5 minutes, so it looks like maybe a 10-minute video. Hopefully it won't crash yet. So, if you have any, like I said, do not quote me on the burn rates and everything. I just know it burns fuel constantly, and it burns at 496 no matter what you do. And granted, it has its own shut-off system when there's enough draw in the system, but it's not very reliable because you're still gonna be burning energy when you. If I were to move this, let me see what happens when I remove this. It's just constantly gotta burn fuel, and both engines are gonna start doing it because it has no control. I don't know what that's about, but you can get my gist. If I were to put the battery back, both engines run at full power. I don't know what's going on with the pipes, spillcraft pipe mechanics, but you know, it'll constantly run at full power, and this thing's gonna keep filling. I'm gonna wait here for a few seconds, so I'm actually shut off this engine first, because that thing is set to run. It'll run at when it's below 70%. It stopped running when it's below 80%. So right now, that battery's not gonna, it's gonna take a while. I don't know why it has it. It has it in the map because it's burning only that much. I don't know what's going on with the input outputs. This is correct. That's kind of weird how it's reading inputs and outputs, but I think it's just a bug on what's reading right. I'm gonna remove this. So weird. I just know there's something weird going on with the calculations, but it doesn't matter how much is being pulled in and out. As long as you have the max power. Well, as you know how much power is going in and out, and how much is needed, you're easily safe on power. Now, I would suggest this much. Whenever you hook them, you do not need to worry about what kind of pipes connect into this battery and what kind of pipes go out to your system. As long as there's NRIO conduits connecting to this, to the power monitors, so they know, because that's the only way they can read what's in the batteries. I don't think I've missed anything other than redstone channels 1.710. You need an inverted signal here. 1.10 you don't, because you can easily use an engineering hammer on the redstone ports on these engines to change what they do. Power conduits leading from the engines to the battery do not matter, and power conduits leading out of the battery to your system does not matter. Power conduits leading to your power monitors do matter, and also it does not mean that only immersive engineering can work with this. Any redstone controlled setup will work with this fine. So if you use like Buildcraft's engines, you can do that fine with that. You can use immersive engineering's power generation. I believe you control even with the applied energetics power generation that they have. You can easily do that. There are probably you probably do this with Buildcraft gates with the control system. But unlike Buildcraft gates where it's like do 25, 75, 80%, that's kind of fixed. You can easily do 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, or like 85, 95, or something like that. So I suggest using NRIO as a control system for this step, and maybe for the conduits, because you can easily just hide them and everything, or make them look nice. I think that's it, and we're reaching the 10-minute mark. So if you have questions, please feel free to answer. If you like this, feel free to leave a like. Feel free to leave a comment. I don't know. Maybe if this gets enough popularity, I may just put start YouTubing again. Reason why I left YouTube was because I wasn't giving very much attention, basically. Maybe the new system now fixed that. But anyway, like I said, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you want to. If this video gets enough around, I'll make me start my YouTube channel. Anyway, this has been She Mature. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Goodbye.